Are you actually surprised by Kamala Harris's announcement of her VP pick, that it's not Shapiro, the Jew from Pennsylvania, that instead she went with, what's his name? Walz, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota? That's surprise. I know I'm supposed to be surprised and shocked. I know what the talking points are. This is Drew Allen, your millennial minister of truth, reporting for duty, helping all Americans to navigate the landmines set by the Democrat Party and their media propagandist machine. I mean, I get it. You know, the traditional thinking out there is, oh my gosh, this is such a victory for Trump and Vance. I don't think that that's wrong, as long as we can stay on message, of course. Sure. I mean, I guess traditional thinking would say, wow, this is a wild pick. I mean, what does he add to the ticket? We learned something about the Democrat Party, of course, if you're paying attention, if you understand the reason they did this. There are a couple reasons. One, they are appealing to the anti-Semitic wing of the Democrat Party. The anti-Semitic wing of the Democrat Party. But in the same breath, look, who was Kamala Harris going to pick instead of Tim Walz? I mean, yeah, he's a radical. I'm going to get into it in a minute. We're going to go through some sound bites. I'll tell you exactly who he is. I mean, this is definitively the most radical ticket in American history. The Democrat Party is de facto owned and operated by Marxists. Hard left Marxists. That is who runs the Democrat Party. You have not one, but two radical Marxists on the ticket, Kamala Harris and now her VP pick. But my question is, okay, who was Kamala Harris going to pick that wasn't a radical? I mean, Tim Walz, he's so radical. Look at his. Yeah, it's true. But can you tell me which Democrat in today's landscape is not radical? Which Democrat has a different view than Kamala Harris? A different view than Tim Walz? I mean, they're all this is the point. This is the reality. But, you know, yeah, we'll get into Tim Walz here. That's how you pronounce his name, I'm told. It's not Waltz. It's Tim Walz, America's dad. A man who can reach out to middle America, you know, the flyover states the left hates. That's what this guy's supposed to do and be, by the way. I mean, Minnesota isn't the Midwest. I mean, I see these Democrats out there saying, oh, this is wonderful. This is terrific. He is the guy that's going to go out and earn the votes from those voters in middle America. The voters in the swing states, the voters in the flyover states that we hate. Then the Midwest. Minnesota's not in the Midwest. Look at a map. But these are the same people that couldn't tell you where Ukraine or Russia was. They certainly couldn't point to Israel on a map either, I don't imagine. I mean, look, this is the party, by the way, Kamala Harris. She couldn't even find her way down to the southern border. She never visited it. She found herself overseas, you know, vacationing, just, you know, disguised as a work trip. But she was solving the border crisis over in, you know, Europe. So it's no surprise this person doesn't know where Texas-Mexico border is. California-Mexico border is. Arizona-Mexico border is. These are the people we're dealing with. But yeah, I mean, Tim Walz, this pick is intended to calm the brewing anger in the party that hates Jews. So, I mean, look, Shapiro in Pennsylvania, I mean, people say, well, that's a more important state. Why didn't she go with Shapiro? I mean, I hope I don't have to talk about the VP stuff anymore after this episode, to be honest, because the VP doesn't really do anything. And we spend all this time talking about the VP, and historically speaking, it's irrelevant. This is a different situation when it comes to Trump. Vance, in my opinion, because of what's at stake, they've tried to assassinate Trump. We need somebody who's not Mike Pence. We need somebody who's going to fight alongside Trump and who is able and capable, qualified to continue to pursue and fulfill our agenda, the American people's agenda. I've got to do one thing here. I know this is frustrating me even more than you. There's just so much that goes into producing these episodes, and I don't have a timer up. I need to put up, 60 minutes. I do these episodes. I mean, I try to keep it to 60 minutes. Anyway, there, I've got a timer going. So anyway, all right, let's get into Tim Walz, just who he is. I thought, by the way, that J.D. Vance had a terrific response when he was asked to respond to this announcement that it's going to be Tim Walz, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. Here's J.D. Vance's response, which is spot on.
This is a guy who's proposed shipping more manufacturing jobs to China, who wants to make the American people more reliant on garbage energy instead of good American energy, and has proposed defunding the police just as Kamala Harris does. I think it's interesting, actually. They make an interesting tag team because, of course, Tim Walz allowed rioters to burn down Minneapolis in the summer of 2020, and then the few who got caught, Kamala Harris helped bail them out of jail. So it is more instructive for what it says about Kamala Harris, that she doesn't care about the border, she doesn't care about crime, she doesn't care about American energy, and most importantly, she doesn't care about the Americans who have been made to suffer under those policies.
That's exactly right. These people don't give a damn about you or the American people that have suffered. They have displayed an unwillingness to change anything. They do not care about the American people. She just selected a guy in Tim Walz, who, again, look, all these positions are the de facto Democrat positions. Name me one Democrat out there that disagrees with any of this, that dares speak out against it. Tell me which one has a place in the Democrat Party, which is prominent today. No, they all share these opinions. The Democrat Party is not savable. It's not salvageable. And that's why my message to you is, if you have been a Democrat in the past and you were falsely led to believe that this party was decent and moral and had your interests at heart, it wasn't true. But now it's certainly not true. They have abandoned you. I don't care if you fly the rainbow flag. Your life, your country is at stake. And these people go out and dangle a carrot in front of your face, thinking you're a stupid person. And those of you who go along with it, I suppose, are stupid people, but they dangle this little carrot. They lie to you about this right or that right that you don't have, and you buy it. You eat it up. You lap it up. But your country's going to be gone. And you're not going to have any opportunity. And I know, unfortunately, because the Democrats have successfully brainwashed so many people, that there are still Democrat voters out there that if they had their way, and if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are elected, they would sit with their buttocks burning on embers of a fire that burned down their home and their country beneath them, saying, ouch, and still thinking Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. So hopefully this can be broken. Hopefully people can wake up soon enough, because things are going to get very, very ugly if we don't elect Trump and Vance and start to turn this ship around. But he's exactly right. You have Kamala Harris, who actually fundraised for the BLM protesters. That's right. The people that actually looted and burned down cities in America, that committed acts of violence against other Americans in the name of social justice. Well, these violent criminals were bailed out with the help of Kamala Harris. She helped raise money to bail them out. She was, of course, famously, I played the clip many times, you've heard it elsewhere, with Stephen Colbert, talking about how these protesters shouldn't stop, mustn't stop. So on the one hand, you have a presidential candidate on the Democrat side, Kamala Harris, who cheered the destruction of our nation's cities, cheered the destruction of innocent Americans' livelihoods, cheered the murder of dozens of Americans that were caught in the middle of this type of violence, the same violence that was most prominent, in fact, in Tim Walz's own state. So on the one hand, you have Kamala Harris, who cheered it on, who bailed out the violent protesters, the violent anarchists, the violent mob of Democrats known as BLM. And on the other hand, you have Tim Walz, who sat there on his hands and watched it happen, who supported it himself. And they'll talk about, oh, Tim Walz, he called in the National Guard. He activated the National Guard. Yeah, you know what he did? He called the National Guard in after the violent mob got it out of their system. He waited until they pillaged and plundered and destroyed and burned and murdered. And then when they were too tired to continue on, when they needed to take a little break, that's when he brought the National Guard in. So don't give me this crap like Tim Walz is some hero that he called up the National Guard. This guy let his city burn, and he supported it. He is on the record time after time talking about how he was sympathetic with these protesters, sympathetic with George Floyd, and all of this. So he thought this was what Americans deserved. And then he calls in the National Guard because he doesn't have a choice in the last minute. And the real purpose was to help clean up. So he didn't use the National Guard to stop anything. He used the National Guard, like they deployed troops to build that pier in Gaza that falls apart. That's what he did. And they want to attack Donald Trump over January J6. Oh, he didn't do anything fast enough. Of course, Donald Trump, who now we know, insisted that they bring in the National Guard, told Pelosi this, and they denied it. They decided not to do it. So who is it, the party of law and order? And the Democrats are lying now. They're saying that we're the party that wants to defund the police, which, of course, came from their own lips. But yeah, Tim Walz watched his own city burn. Him and his wife went on the record expressing how they could relate to these people, how more Americans need to be upset too. We all needed to feel like these protesters. So it's the perfect ticket. Burn the country to the ground 2024. That should be their official campaign. A burn, baby, burn. That's the campaign slogan of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Now, who is Tim Walz? He's being... here's the thing. I've got this story about him. So he's another one of these typical guys. So he served in the National Guard, but just when he was called up to go to Iraq, he resigned. So, I've got this whole story in front of me. But the point is, Tim Walz has been a fraud and liar about his own military record. What is it about Democrats and their history of lying? None of these people are who they say they are. And, these people do hate the military. We're getting very close to them really just saying exactly what they really mean and feel. But when it comes to the military, that's one of the last bastions where Democrats continue to pretend that they care about the military, care about the troops. So Tim Walz served in the National Guard, and he's being praised as some kind of military hero. He is George Patton, is what the Democrats are painting him as because he was in the National Guard. But you know what? J.D. Vance was an active duty Marine. He served in the Marine Corps. And yet J.D. Vance, do they give him any respect for serving in the Marine Corps? No, they're selective. They're selective. But anyway, Tim Walz here, in early 2005, a warning order was issued to the 125th Field Artillery Battalion, which included the position that Tim Walz was serving in, to prepare to be mobilized for active duty for a deployment to Iraq. On May 16th, 2005, Walz quit, leaving the 125th Field Artillery Battalion and its soldiers hanging without its senior non-commissioned officer. So he had been promoted just recently to, let's see here, the position of the Command Sergeant Major. Command Sergeant Major. That was the promotion. It was a conditional promotion. And if the conditions weren't met, the promotion was null and void. Here's the other thing. He claims to have retired and so on and so forth as this position. And yet he never received pay based on this commission because he didn't fulfill his duty. He dropped out. He quit. So his excuse, Walz's excuse, to other leaders at the time back in 2005 was that he needed to retire in order to run for Congress. But that's a lie. He made that up. According to a Department of Defense directive, he could have run and requested permission from the Secretary of Defense before entering active duty, as many reservists do and have. And, if he had retired, so this is Thomas Behrens, a command sergeant major retired. He knows the intimate details of this, and he is exposing Tim Walz' fraudulent past and what really happened. So if Walz had retired normally and respectfully, he writes, you would think he would have ensured his retirement documents were correctly filled out and signed, and that he would have ensured he was reduced to master sergeant for dropping out of the academy. Instead, he waited for the paperwork to catch up to him. His official retirement document states, soldier not available for signature. And this field artillery battalion that he was previously serving in before he left them high and dry when they actually got sent to Iraq. Well, they were deployed for 22 months in 2006 and 2007. And during this time, they were restricted by Army regulations and couldn't speak out against a candidate for office. So he was protected. So this guy ran for office and was shielded. And in November 2006, Walz was elected to the House of Representatives. He claims, here's where he lies, he claims to be the highest ranking enlisted service member ever to serve in Congress, even though he was conditionally promoted to command sergeant major less than 8 months, quit before his obligations were met, and was reduced to master sergeant for retirement. In other words, he served at that rank, was never qualified at that rank, and will receive retirement benefits at one rank below. So he is a fraud. He goes on, even more disturbing is the fact that Walz quickly retired after learning that his unit, Southern Minnesota's 125 FA Battalion, would be sent to Iraq. For Tim Walz, to abandon his fellow soldiers and quit when they needed experienced leadership most is disheartening. So there you go, another selfless human being, just like Joe Biden. He's so selfless. He's selfless for stepping down after running the country into the ground, and the media and Joe Biden himself, and Tim Walz even covered up his condition. Tim Walz is a selfish human being who was not willing to sacrifice anything. He took an opportunity to better himself. He left his soldiers high and dry. This is who Walz is. Don't believe the media. They're trying to paint him as America's dad. Have you noticed every Democrat is the most amazing person ever to be born? They're all brilliant. They're all selfless. They're all amazing. They're all incredible. But if you're a Republican, you're just automatically a piece of garbage. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. And what we need to stop doing is buying into that. Getting defensive. Getting insecure. These people aren't who they say they are. They're losers. You need to attack them mercilessly. We have to have an attitude that we're going to win. And I don't see that with many people on our side. And I've got a great article I want to read to you coming up, some pull quotes by Kurt Schlichter over at Townhall, because I was thinking about this and explaining this to my own friends. And then I see this article from Kurt. And, you know, if you're not familiar with Kurt, I mean, he's a hilarious guy. He's funny. And he puts it in words very well. So Walz, just a few weeks ago, right? He's so trustworthy. He's such a decent human being. He runs from battle, flees, leaves his own comrades behind. But he's so selfless, so wonderful. Well, here's Walz just a few weeks ago talking about Joe Biden. Now we know that all these people have admitted that Joe Biden is not fit for office. He's not fit now. He's disappeared. We don't know where he is. We don't know who's running the country still. As World War III may very well break out in the Middle East at any moment. The Russians have allied themselves, of course, allied themselves with Iran. This is all under Joe Biden's supposed leadership. And meanwhile, Kamala Harris is out there running around doing these, you know, pre-prepared photo ops. They're trying to manufacture popularity for her. Joe Biden, we don't know where he is. We haven't seen him. Nobody's answering questions. So now we have no VP and no president. And Kamala Harris is yet to answer questions, field questions from the press. Yeah, it's been like almost 20 days since the announcement was made that the Democrats had defended democracy by subverting the will of the Democrat primary voter and just installing her without any input from the actual Democrat voter out there. That's right. That's how the Democrats do it. Protecting democracy. Protecting democracy by destroying the Constitution, one line at a time. That's how they do it. But here's Walz talking about Joe Biden.
Is he fit for office? Do you think he's fit for office?
Yes, fit for office. The president has three and a half years of delivering for us, going through what we've all been through. None of us are denying. Thursday night was a bad performance. It was a bad hit, if you will, on that. But it doesn't impact what I believe. He's delivering.
Ooh, Tim Walz. No, he's still fine. Thursday was a bad performance on that debate stage, but now there's no reason to worry. He doesn't have dementia. He's healthy, fit as an ox, or whatever they say. Tim Walz. I want to get into his positions, but before I do that, I want to talk to you about something that actually Daily Clout offers. Daily Clout and Dr. Naomi Wolf have come up with something called Legisector. And it's to put live U.S. state and federal legislation at everyone's fingertips. One of the problems in this country is that obviously it's so big and we're so busy that we have no idea what's going on in our own states. We have no idea what legislation is being passed and proposed, and we don't have any way of accessing it. We are dependent upon the news to tell us what's happening. And we are not free, and we're not able to address and take control of our states in that manner. So Legisector is a revolutionary tool that changes how we engage with legislation. It addresses the problems with existing legislative databases, which are notoriously hard to search and understand. That's right. They're run by the government. You want to try and find something, some information, some morsel of truth or information from a government website? Good luck. And then you have, lobbyists and professional organizations that have stepped in that have a stranglehold on actionable legislative information. And Legisector changes the game. And it solves it by pre-populating users' portals with live bills matched to their needs. So you don't need any intermediaries, and the bills are served up in an accessible format. And you have state-of-the-art AI technology on top of that summarizes even the longest bills into easy-to-read paragraphs. Why is this important now? Well, in 2023, federal lobbying hit $4.26 billion with nearly 13,000 lobbyists. And the spend per year has been growing since 2016. Yet, 330 million Americans don't have access to what the lobbying industry does. Legisector changes that. And so I would encourage you to check it out. Go to Legisector, that's LEGISector.com, legisector.com today to learn more and stay up to date on the issues that matter to you. Check it out. Honestly, it is a game changer, and more people need to learn about it, and we can help them find out. All right. So there's Walz. No problem with Biden's age, of course. And how hilarious, too, Kamala Harris, this youthful campaign, chooses like the oldest white guy that was, on the table. Walz, though, right? The media is trying to lie about who he is, just like they've lied about who Kamala Harris is, and just like how they lie about who Donald Trump is. So actually, let me play first a clip from Joe Biden's favorite propaganda network. That would be Morning Joe Scarborough. And by the way, Joe Scarborough, who once was the greatest propagandist for the Biden regime, now has immediately switched teams. Now he's immediately in the tank for Kamala Harris, doing the bidding of the regime for her. These people don't have actual free, independent thoughts. And unfortunately, a lot of Americans are this way too. It's just anything the Democrats do is wonderful, because threat to democracy. This is the thing about the threat to democracy, by the way. One, it means nothing. And it's the Democrats who are actually the threat to democracy, a threat to America, a threat to you and your livelihood and your future and your children's future. But it's this blanket thing, a threat to democracy. Oh, well, if the Democrats want to chop off little Johnny's pee-pee when he's 11 years old, and they want to put the parents in prison if they try to intervene and stop it from happening, You know, if Democrats want to abort babies at exactly 9 months, carry it to term, and then cut the head off when it comes out, that's okay because we're still protecting democracy. So it's amazing how weak the human mind can be, that people would support a party that is literally in real time destroying the country and destroying democracy. And I've got a clip of Jamie Raskin to play in a minute, because what you'll hear in that clip is him caught on a panel talking about true anti-democracy, represented by him and the Democrat Party, that have no respect for democracy. But in the name of democracy, Democrats can burn and loot and destroy the livelihoods of innocent people in the name of social justice. They can, kill babies at will. They can chop off a child's genitalia. They can destroy women's athletics by allowing biological males to compete against and defeat women in their own sports. Oh, yes, in the name of democracy, we can do all things are possible, and you must accept them, because nothing trumps the importance of protecting democracy. So even if we have to take away your gas-powered vehicle, your gas-powered stove, even if we have to reduce you to using public transportation, if we have to take away your autonomy, if you have to suffer through a stock market crash, if we have to take away your income, if we have to create policies that destroy your wealth with inflation, well, that's a small price to pay to protect democracy, don't you know? But anyway, let's play this clip of Scarborough. I just looking at it, it looks like it's a 2-minute, 55-second clip. No way am I playing the full clip. Let's just get an idea of what they're saying here.
We'd love to hear your first reaction to the choice of Tim Walz as Kamala Harris's running mate.
Good morning. Wonderful to be with you all. Tim Walz is wonderful, and she had many good choices among the 6 and certainly among the 2. I'm a big fan of Governor Shapiro. Tim Walz, I know very well. He served in the House. To characterize him as left is so unreal. It's just not what the question. He's right down the middle.
Oh my God. Tim Walz is right down the middle. Before I get into who Tim Walz is further, I want to make a point to you because it's driving me crazy. I have discovered that my purpose in this battle is to be the anti-propagandist, to be America's, millennial minister of truth, of course. But I have embraced my role, which is to chastise the weak amongst our ranks. Call me the general, whatever you want to call me. Maybe I upset some of you from time to time, but it's only because you need to be upset. Now, notice that Pelosi and the media immediately go into this role as the cheerleaders of Walz and the cheerleader of Kamala Harris. Now, a month ago, they could have cared less. 3 years ago, they were attacking Kamala Harris. Nobody wanted anything to do with her. But it's about victory, and they want to win this presidential election. And so they are all in for their candidates. Now, on our side, what do we get? Oh, Vance did this, or oh, Trump said something bad about Brian Kemp's, governor of Georgia's wife, and what are you doing? What you see? They understand and want victory. We're too busy sitting here with a loser mentality, and that's really what it is. Still criticizing Trump for this and criticizing Vance for this. And most of it's not even honest, deserved criticism. It is a response to lies from the left. But here you have Pelosi, who recently just told us that Joe Biden was such a great president, as she slurs drunkenly on camera. He should have his face etched into Mount Rushmore. That's right. Right there with George Washington and the others, you should have Joe Biden. In fact, let's get rid of George Washington because he was a racist. He was a slave owner. Let's put Joe Biden there because Joe Biden's the best president. You see what they do? But here's the thing. We don't have to be propagandists because we actually have wonderful, tremendous candidates who are sacrificing everything in Donald Trump's case for you and me, for this country. But let's just get into Walz's abortion stance because Democrats want to make abortion the big issue. Oh, yes. Trump and myself were so radical on the issue of abortion because we think that states should have the right to determine their own abortion laws, that the federal government should have no role in telling individual states what's best for them. So in other words, if you want to have a Walz-style abortion law, which is basically, it's murder, it's infanticide. That's what Walz supports. If you want to support murder, you can. And if you don't, you can fight it and have different laws. So here's Walz on abortion. This is from Just the News. In Walz's state and on his watch, 5 infants were born alive in 2021 during failed abortions. And none was provided life-saving care, though 2 got comfort care. The Minnesota Department of Health reported on July 1st, 2022. 3 other infants were born alive during abortions in 2019. Walz's first year as governor, and they too perished without life-saving care, according to a July 1st, 2020 report. Now, I just want to stop here for a second. It's an absolute lie that life does not begin at conception. It does. It absolutely does, and everyone knows that. It has to start somewhere, and then it grows and grows and grows. So yes, it does in fact start with the fertilization of an egg. Now, abortion is inconvenient for people. There's other scenarios out there, rape, incest, whatever else, that virtually never happen, but they do, and people want exceptions for that. Now, many reasonable people say, okay, well, you can abort a baby up until, 12 weeks, 3 months, first trimester, which isn't too much. But nonetheless, okay, people say that, and they say that's too extreme. And so what do Democrats want? They want infanticide. And the point is, they do not respect the human life. And that's why you have rising crime. That's why you have the kind of culture in America right now that is devoid of any sympathy or empathy. The reason you have Democrats, for example, who can cut people out of their lives and turn their backs on them, the reason you have people trying to assassinate Donald Trump is because of this issue. It begins there. Because if you don't respect life there, it's a slippery slope. And so if you support the murder of an infant, of a baby, of the unborn that comes out and is actually alive, what does that say about your view of life in general? If you can kill the most innocent creature on the planet, the baby, why can't you kill someone else when you have a grudge against them or when there are reasons in this world that you might attach to them as justification? The baby's innocent. If you can kill the most innocent among you, think what you can do to others that you disagree with politically, and so on and so forth. But the Democrats, remember, in Congress, when they had a bill, the Republicans put forward a bill to ban this very thing. Or actually, what the bill said was, it was a requirement that if you had a failed abortion and the child actually was alive, was viable, that you had to provide life-saving care. And every single Democrat voted against it. Every single one. So don't tell me that Republicans are radical on the idea of abortion. This is sick and it is evil. So in 2023, Walz worked with his new Democrat-controlled legislature to eliminate both the reporting requirement and the state's legal obligation for doctors, nurses, and medical professionals to administer life-saving care to infants born alive during an abortion procedure. I have a friend, by the way, whose sister-in-law, I believe it was, the baby at 20-something weeks was born. And it was viable, and it's alive today and now. And in fact, I saw the baby in the grocery store not too long ago. But this baby was put, in intensive care in the NICU, I suppose, and basically lived for weeks until it could be taken home. So when does life begin again? See, the Democrats' life begins when they just want to say it does. It's about convenience. So the definition of life to the radical abortion advocate like Walz is not objective. It's based on whether or not you want the child to live. So, if you want to have the baby, then it's a baby and it's alive. If you don't want to have the baby at the same time, then it's not a viable living thing and you can kill it. You see how that works? It doesn't work at all. It doesn't work at all. So, but there's other things too. Walz attended the White Dudes for Harris event, Zoom meeting. Or maybe it was in person. The White Dudes for Harris thing still blows my mind. I mean, you have to really hate yourself to join a group like that. But he made a proclamation that one person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. Now, maybe that was made online because I saw the video. I think this was during that Zoom session, White Dudes for Harris. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness. I think it's incredible that while he supports unfettered, unobstructed, illegal immigration, the criminal invasion of America, he supports this. And they claim, these people are fleeing Marxism and communism, socialism. That's the reason for leaving, in addition to climate change. But that aside, they're leaving these hellholes. Why are they hellholes? What's wrong with Venezuela in the past? What's wrong with these different countries? What type of government do they have? Oh, they're socialist? Oh, they're communist? Oh, they're Marxist? And those things don't work, you mean? And so they've destroyed those countries, and now those immigrants are now going to come to our country where you want to implement Marxism, communism, and socialism here? But this is how open it. Oh, socialism. Nobody has a clue, by the way. It's unbelievable, people's ignorance on this sort of thing. But I got to press on here. We got a lot to get into. I mean, Walz, he's pushed to eliminate fossil fuels and gas-powered cars from Minnesota with a goal of being carbon neutral by 2050. So this guy wants you to go back to the horse and buggy days, where you have to step through horse crap on the street. And this is the thing about the climate change folks too. They say that cows and their flatulence is contributing to climate change, just like our breath is. How many horses will we need if we ban cars? If we want to go back to the old days, which they really do, I mean, they wouldn't even want us to have a campfire. They wouldn't want us to eat hot food because they would claim that the fire that we needed to build in the wilderness was harming the environment. But yeah, okay, cars are a problem. So is farting from cows and ostensibly horses as well. So what's the solution here? We just sit at our home all day and the government just provides for us and gives us 1 or 2 meals a day like we're in prison cells? That's the objective. Anyway, Tim Walz of Minnesota signed a law allowing the killing of preborn babies at any stage, even up to birth. That's true. Kamala Harris supports this too. So don't talk to me about, we're radicals on abortions. This is Tim Walz. Tim Walz also supports supports driver's licenses for illegals. Here's a little news clip.
It's done.
A packed room at the St. Paul Armory erupted after the governor's signature made driver's license for all the law of the land.
Well, there you have it. Now, I want to get into a little bit of this article from Kurt Schlichter in just a minute. But first, let me get to one of our sponsors here. The Wellness Company. We're living in a time, as I've said before, where uncertainty, it truly does lurk around every single corner. And preparedness isn't an option, it's a necessity. I believe that. And that's where the Wellness Company's medical emergency kit comes into play. Now, this is the thing I keep mentioning. They've got other things too, but the medical emergency kit, I just think that everyone should have. Imagine having the peace of mind that you're fully equipped to handle any medical crisis, from something as common as tick bites to the challenges posed by the latest pandemic. The Wellness Company's medical emergency kit contains crucial medications like ivermectin, emergency antibiotics, amoxicillin, antiviral, Z-Pak, and more. It's the ultimate preparedness solution. And you can get it with a discount if you go to visit dailyclouthealth.com. Well, not visit. That's not part of it. I'm telling you, visit dailyclouthealth.com and use promo code dailyclout for an exclusive 10% discount. Take charge of your preparedness today and enjoy peace of mind for tomorrow. And, you know, this thing is backed. The team that put this together, I mean, it's Dr. Drew Pensky, Dr. Peter McCullough, Dr. James Thorpe, Dr. Harvey Reish. I mean, people that you know, people that are respected, highly respected in the industry, certainly, in the medical world. All right. Here's what I want to address. I played that clip of Nancy Pelosi praising Tim Walz. And every Democrat is telling you how excited they are about this ticket. Now, yes, it's the most radical ticket in America. No, there should be zero chance they're capable of winning. This is absolutely insane. You have two hardcore Marxists running for president and vice president. So there is no moderation amongst them. It is extreme and it is dangerous. That is the reality. And yet the Democrats want to win the war of perception. They want to convince you that these people have a better chance of winning than Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. It's nonsense, and it's not true unless you allow them to shape how you react, to change your mentality. And this is what I want to address with you, because if we can't defeat our own minds here, if we can't conquer our own minds, there is a chance we will lose. Now, here's what Kurt Schlichter writes. Took the words out of my mouth. Could you doomsayers please give us a break? Can you stop panicking like little girls and male-identifying Democrats when they see a spider? Yes, Kamala Harris has capitalized on the relief of the Democrats over trading in that shambling, perverted, zombie-like husk for someone who is merely an idiot who is too dumb to pass the California bar exam. That's progress. Well, at least a kind of progress. But it's enough for their voters to come back in off the sidelines. There were a lot of Biden supporters out there, Kurt writes, people who are never going to vote for Trump, but who just couldn't vote for someone who is manifestly senile. Well, Kamala is not manifestly senile. She's just dumb. But that's an improvement over Joe Biden, and that's enough for them. Now they're back in the game, and the head-to-head poll numbers have improved for the Democrats. But Trump hasn't fallen behind. He's probably still slightly ahead. So could you please stop whining about how we Republicans are doomed? Probably not, he writes. Oh no, J.D. Vance is a disaster. If only we had picked somebody squishier, the Democrats would have been nice to him. Oh, Kamala Harris is so exciting and popular. She's so brat. We can't ever compete against that. Oh, they're just going to steal the election anyway. Boo-hoo. Geez, Kurt writes. Could you sissies shut up for a minute and stop embarrassing yourselves? We're in a better position than we've been in a presidential race in 20 years, and all some people can do is find that cloud behind the silver lining. He is exactly right. Listen to me. I see people out there reacting this way. I hear them. You know them. Maybe you're one of them. Doubt is natural, okay? The stakes are high. I get it. Fear is real too. But you've got to overcome this. All right? And you can fake it if you have to. Fake it till you make it. But do not allow your mind to go to this place. Do not buy the left's narrative. All right? You know, basically, we are two trains on a collision course. And the one that is going faster is going to win. It's the one who wants to win the most, who has the most confidence. But a lot of you are like going into this like you're entering a basketball game and you just believe that you can't win. You believe the other team is just so superior. That is so foolish. Now, look, you think the American revolutionaries, George Washington himself didn't have doubt at times? You think they weren't fearful of losing to the British? Of course they were, because they knew what the stakes were. But they did not allow that to destroy them, destroy their will. It caused them to work harder, to double down. All right? And that's what we have to do. So they want us to doubt everything. They want us to doubt science, truth, reality. They're gaslighting us to accept their way. Because they can't beat us. The only people who can beat us right now still are ourselves, the American people. These people's positions are so radical that if you did a poll, and there have been polls done, I just don't have them in front of me. But if you go down the list about their positions on illegal immigration, on the driver's licenses for illegals, on the gender theory, taking children away from their parents if their parents object to their 11-year-old daughter or son getting gender mutilating surgeries and operations. These people are clinically insane and they are dangerous. They've destroyed the economy. They have caused rampant inflation. They are responsible for the wars erupting all over the world. And so these people should have no chance at winning, but we don't treat them that way, not enough of us. We give them too much benefit of the doubt. I mean, this is what the Democrats have been waging since 2016. They have been trying to demoralize you, to convince you that what we're on the precipice of, saving the country, isn't real. Here's a perfect example. Here is some Kamala Harris campaign propaganda. They both recently did rallies in Atlanta, Georgia, I guess it was. I think that's where it was. Doesn't really matter. But they both did rallies in the same place. And here's what Kamala Harris's campaign puts out. You're looking at, or you're listening, I'll explain it to you. On the left is a photo of Vice President Harris's, and this is what they say, completely full rally in Atlanta 4 days ago. And then on the right is another picture, and they say empty seats at Trump's Atlanta rally in the exact same arena today. Now, the left picture is Harris's rally. It's full. The right is an empty rally at Trump. Well, what do you notice? They are still setting up. They are still setting up for the event to happen in Trump's case. Here's the reality. So they took a picture before the rally even happened. So they zoom in and they take a close-up at Kamala Harris's rally, and the bleachers are full. Then they go to a little section at Trump's rally, and they snap a picture before the attendees are even in the arena, and they say, look, nobody showed up. Here's the reality of Trump's rally. Totally full. Totally full. This is why the Democrats have been obsessed with Trump's crowd sizes since he was elected, even since he was running in 2016, because it's powerful. The image of him being shot and standing up triumphantly with his fist in the air, saying, fight, that's powerful. And they need those images to go away. They need you not to believe they happened. That's why they went on the record and they tried to dismiss what the assassination attempt complete. That's why you had theories out there saying that he did this to himself. It was staged. There was no bullet. It was glass or something instead. Because they're powerful. If you, it's like, I have to do this with a Christian analogy. If you're not Christian, it's still useful and hopefully you can understand. You know, it's like how your life changes if you can truly, truly embrace and accept that Jesus Christ was real, that he was the Son of God, and that he died for your sins. It's one thing to just kind of flippantly acknowledge that that happened and understand that that is what Christianity is. It's another if you can see it, if you can feel it, if you can understand it in your soul that this human being sacrificed for you like that. That God sent his only son that came in human form and lived amongst us and died like we do, but then was resurrected. If you can understand it, it changes your life. It changes your life. And the same is true when you realize that you're not a minority in this country, that Trump is popular, that you are right, that you can win. You could free yourself. Imagine the freedom you would feel if you had the confidence that you were backing the right person, that you weren't out there saying, oh, maybe we made a mistake with Vance. I don't like Trump says this. I don't like that. Democrats don't live this way. They go all in for their candidates and they support them at any cost. We have to win. We have to win and we have to have confidence. And we cannot do this. Let me read a little bit more about from Kurt Schlichter here. We are more likely than not going to win this. But we will lose this by being depressed. Spot on, Kurt. You're spot on. We will lose this by being blackpilled. We will lose this by failing to work. If you're not writing checks, dialing the phone, or being out there urging people to vote, you are helping us lose. Get it together to bring it in for the big win. Stop with the pessimism. I don't want to hear a damn thing about, oh, well, they're just going to steal it anyway. They're not going to just steal it anyway. You're going to let them steal it by sitting this election out. We need to work hard and win beyond the margin of fraud. So stop moaning and start campaigning. Kurt's exactly right. Exactly right. All right. I want to get into something else here. If I have time, I want to get into what's going on in the UK. Let me just say this briefly in case I don't have time to get to it. You've got these protests happening in the United Kingdom right now. And they're framing this as far-right violence. And effectively what happened in the UK is that on let me see if I have the specifics of yeah, so look, the British were shocked recently by what police described as a ferocious knife attack that killed 3 girls between 6 and 9 on July 29th in Southport, a seaside town north of Liverpool. 8 other children, 2 adults were injured. Now, it was leaked incorrectly that it was a Muslim immigrant that should have been there that committed the act of violence. It turns out that it was another different kind of immigrant. It was actually a guy named Axel Muganwa Rudakubana, and he's charged with 3 counts of murder and 10 counts of attempted murder. The suspect was born in Wales in 2006 and moved to the Southport area in 2013. His parents were originally from Rwanda, so his parents are immigrants from Rwanda. Doubtless they did not assimilate into the culture, but there you have it. So it was not an illegal immigrant from, some Muslim country, but it was someone whose parents came from Rwanda, which is a country sadly familiar with attacks like this against their own people and genocide. But nonetheless, in the UK, you have these riots that broke out, and, immigrant groups have been targeted. On Sunday, angry mobs attacked 2 hotels used to house asylum seekers. That means illegals, breaking windows and lighting fires before police dispersed the crowds and residents were anyway. So this is what's going on, but here's the text. So now they are attacking social media. They are using this incident in the UK to try and suggest that the government needs to police free speech. That's where they're going with this. And yet who's going to police the free speech of the policemen that are policing free speech? You understand? You had Democrats engaged in hoax after hoax, whether it was hands up, don't shoot with Michael Brown that didn't ever happen, whether it was George Floyd. I mean, the Democrats are involved in hoax after hoax after hoax. Jussie Smollett, Trump-Russia collusion, the targeting of the Supreme Court, and we have an assassination attempt against Trump. So who's policing those lies? Who's policing the rhetoric that comes from these people that say that they need to police it when their misinformation and lies lead to violence, like the Summer of Love that happened in Tim Walz's home state there, where he's governor, where he watched with a smile on his face, that's the truth, him and his wife, with joy, exuberant, that people were acting out to correct social justice. But I want you to know that because, yes, while this violence is wrong, they don't come out like this when it's BLM that does it based on their own far left urgings and instigations. We have to stop. We have to continue. They must continue. We can't stop. They shouldn't stop, Kamala Harris says, as they burn down America in the name of social justice. But they always do it this way because they want to falsely convince you that all the violence, of course, comes from the right, when we know that it's exclusively almost every time from the left. And by the way, in the streets, you have these immigrants who are out there attacking the far right now, counter protesters, and so on and so forth. But the reality is, too, these people shouldn't be here. These illegals shouldn't be here. And you are going to have conflict when you have a bunch of leeches who are pillaging the country at the invite of a political party that only looks out for its own power and is willing to import illegals from third world countries to then embrace the third world country that they'll create here. I mean, that's the reality. These 20 million illegals that are coming here, they never got freebies like this where they came from. So they're destroying the country for us, but they're living better than they ever have before on our backs, even though they still apparently complain that their meals aren't good enough and so on and so forth. Wild times. All right, here's Jamie Raskin. I want to play this clip, and I want you to think about how the Democrats say that they're protecting democracy, that Trump is a threat to democracy, that I'm a threat to democracy, that you're a threat to democracy. And here's Jamie Raskin.
Well, last night I was most worried about the Supreme Court's prospective imminent abdication of its very clear duty to disqualify Donald Trump from the ballot under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, and what that might mean if their decision says that it's really up to Congress on January 5th or January 6th, 2025, to disqualify him at the counting of the Electoral College votes, which really could lead to something akin to civil war, if that's what the suggestion is, which is what I think I heard when I went to the oral argument, that they themselves were unwilling to rule whether or not the Colorado Supreme Court was correct in finding that he had engaged in insurrection on January 6, 2021. So, but that was just last night's worry. So that,
Wow. I thought you weren't supposed to bring up the word civil war. And by the way, Donald Trump did not incite an insurrection. That's a total fabrication. They impeached him over it, found him not guilty. They had a whole J6 committee that investigated it. We know definitively he didn't incite an insurrection. But we know that Democrats incited the Summer of Love. But Trump hasn't been found guilty of anything related to insurrection. And yet he's saying that even if Donald Trump wins, even if the American people, despite the historic, unprecedented election interference that is all of this, it is a media that is in the tank, operating at the behest of the regime to take down and take out Donald Trump, assassination attempts, political persecutions and prosecutions, a lying media, rigging everything they can. And he's saying even then, if Donald Trump is reelected, that they might have to look at on January 6th, and Congress might have to act. What? That's an insurrection. That's an insurrection. I mean, these guys can't even keep their story straight. At the end of the day, democracy for them is them winning. It's anti-democratic if they lose. But of course, even when they promote so-called direct democracy, right, they want to get rid of the Electoral College because they know they can harvest enough ballots in California and New York to always get more total votes. That's easy to do. But it makes it harder to cheat when you have to do it in all 50 states and cobble together the right number of Electoral College votes, 270 to win. So of course they want to go to a direct democracy because they can win. That's why they want to change it that way. But even though but they have a direct democracy when it came to their nomination process, right? You had 14 million Democrat primary voters that voted for Joe Biden. And what does the Democrat Party do since they respect democracy so much and the will of the people? Well, they pulled the plug on Joe Biden and they just swapped him out with Kamala Harris. Not a single vote ever cast for her. But this is who you're going to get, and this is who you're going to vote for, and you don't get a say. That's democracy? Give me a break. Give me a flipping break. I want to get to one more sponsor here before we get to the end. Native Path. You've heard me talk about Native Path before. They have a collagen formula that is scientifically backed to increase bone mineral density, accelerate tissue recovery, reduce wrinkles, enhance hair thickness, and strengthen weak or damaged nails. Who wouldn't want more collagen with all these benefits? And here's the best part. Right now, when you visit getnativepath.com/dailyclout, you can stock up on Native Path collagen for up to an incredible 45% off today, plus free shipping. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free today. Reclaim your life, rejuvenate your spirit, and glow with vitality. Native Path. Getnativepath.com/dailyclout for the discount. But there is Jamie Raskin, you just heard him, proposing that Congress intervene to deprive the American people, subvert the will of the American people. It's in your face. Everything these Democrats say is a lie. And all they do is say Trump's a threat to democracy. And that's supposed to give you, the Democrat voter out there and supporter, a green light to absolve yourself from any morality, any reason, any logic to save democracy, whatever that means, saving democracy. Well, we know what they're doing. They're destroying democracy in the name of saving it. That's what's happening in front of our faces. And Kamala Harris, again, and Tim Walz are the most radical human beings ever to run for the highest office of the land in this country. America will not survive their intentional, destructive reign. It just won't. But we can win, just like Kurt was saying in that article, and we must win, and we will win. So, I mean, you've got to get out of this habit of reacting to the media. I'm going to talk about this up until the election and probably after. This is the biggest thing that is killing us. And tell people around you doing this to knock it off. The stakes are too high. We need to be focused on pointing out who Kamala Harris are, who Tim Walz is, what this Democrat Party has done with their radical agendas, because they're trying to run out the clock. They're trying to run out the clock. And they're lying and using the media to get away with it. Oh, Donald Trump pulled out. That's not true. It's Kamala Harris that did, but you're saying the opposite. That's not what happened at all. She's the fraud. She's the coward. By the way, you think Trump's afraid to debate? The last time he debated, Joe Biden was forced to step aside. So give me a break. But these people are radical. And again, these positions that they have, well over 50%, like close to 80% of the American population doesn't approve of them. And so it is your job to explain to people that this isn't true. It is your job to explain that Donald Trump is not a monster. It's your job to push back on these people. Your confidence is everything. We have to win, and you need to be happy that we have Trump and Vance. Fake it if you have to, like I said before. But you see, Democrats have no problem doing that. You see Nancy Pelosi? Oh, yeah. Tim Walz, he's a moderate, just down the center. It's totally down the center to support infanticide, don't you know? It's totally down the center to support looting and rioting and burning down streets in the name of social justice. It's totally down the middle, you see? No, the left are radical, and they are communists. They are Marxists. They are socialists, and they're destroying the country. We represent the vision of the founding fathers. We are America, and they are not. It is us, the American people, against a monstrosity that has destroyed and ruined every nation around the world throughout history. Pain, destruction, loss, violence is in our future if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are elected. Look at what they did with BLM in the Summer of Love. Watch those videos of burning cities, and that's what they're going to do to America. And then look at that picture of Donald Trump, who's got his hand pumped into the air, fist into the air, fight, after somebody tries to assassinate him. I'm going with that guy, not the cackling communist, not Tim Walz, who they're telling us is America's dad. You see what they do? He's not any of those things. She's not any of those things, but they say them. But Trump is a great man. Trump is a successful businessman. Trump is a hero in our time. Why is it so hard for you to say that when the Democrats can sit there and tell you that Tim Walz, who supports infanticide, oh yeah, he's America's dad? Excuse me, I'm a dad. He's certainly not America's dad when he supports infanticide, when he supports any of these far left issues, driver's licenses for illegals, the destruction of our republic by treating people who are criminals who don't belong here, giving them these rights, giving them driver's licenses. Excuse me? No. So buckle up, change your attitude, be careful, and I'll be here to coach you all along the way. All right, this is Drew Allen, your Millennial Minister of Truth. God bless you, and until next time.